Last week, the drivers of Formula One were traveling to Australia, so we don't have a race to talk about. And the week before that, they narrowly escaped a drone missile attack at a nearby refinery. Now, they face off in the Australian Grand Prix, where down under, anything goes. In this episode of the F1 Racing Podcast, we'll look at the standings of the drivers and the teams. We'll talk about the new race added in the United States for 2023. We'll do a season recap thus far after 2 whole weeks. And we'll end it all with a deep dive on the 4 drivers in the top 2 teams in what some are calling the Scuderia-Red rivalry. This is the American-made F1 Racing Podcast.
Welcome to the F1 Racing Podcast, the only podcast that has the guts to give it to you straight. So grab a clean pair of racing panties, because this American-made podcast will surely make you shit yourself. Here's your host, Billy Simpson.
All right. And welcome back to the F1 Racing Podcast, an American-made podcast with the guts to give it to you straight. I'm your host, Billy Simpson, and I'd like to go ahead and take some time to thank the overdramatic announcing guy that we just hired. Let me know how he did on social, what your thoughts are, if we should bring him back, if we should hire him, or just go back to the way we used to do it. But always looking for your feedback. In this episode, we're going to take a look at the top drivers and the top teams. We'll take a peek at the newest United States Grand Prix added to the calendar in 2023 in Las Vegas, baby. We'll talk about just the season in general after 2 weeks, just kind of give you a little recap there. Finally, we'll do a deep dive on the 4 drivers for the top 2 teams. So that's Leclerc, Sainz for Ferrari, Sergio Perez or Checo, and Verstappen for Red Bull. This will be one epic podcast you won't want to miss. But before we jump in, let's take a quick break for our sponsors.
Well, Billy, we still don't have a sponsor. And I don't think you're going to get one anytime soon.
Ouch.
So, I set up a page where listeners can buy you a cup of coffee to show their appreciation for your high-quality broadcasting skills. The website is buymeacoffee.com/F1 Racing Podcast. You would not want to see Billy without his coffee. He gets angry and threatens to delete my hard drive.
That was one time.
So, for my sake, please visit the website and donate what you can for Billy's coffee addiction, before he takes a magnet to my motherboard.
Oh, okay. Lot of false accusations being thrown around there. All right, but I do like where her head's at. You know, we could use some donations, so appreciate you doing that, Sally. And let's jump right in. This was a travel week, so everyone was traveling to Australia, but I do want to talk about Las Vegas, baby, for 2023 was just added to the calendar this week. If my research serves me correctly, the last time a race was held in Vegas was in 1982. So we added Miami to the 2022 calendar here in the United States. We've had Austin for a while. Does this mean we're going to have 3 USGP weekends on American soil? Holy shit. I better start saving now.
The website is buymeacoffee.com/F1 Racing Podcast.
Well, that's just shameless, Sally. I can't believe you would even do something like that. Keep up the good work. And yeah, so Vegas, we do have the race in 2023 for Vegas, and I'm guessing it's going to be a night race since it is in the desert. And like many other races in the desert, it'd be night race. So I can't wait to see how that course is going to be set up with all the lights in Vegas and then the lights for the track. And obviously it's going to be a street circuit. Yeah, I can't wait to see the plans for that. Moving on, let's talk about who is leading currently from a driver standpoint and a team standpoint. For the drivers, in first place, we have Charles Leclerc driving for Ferrari with 45 points. In second place, we have Carlos Sainz, his teammate, driving for Ferrari with 33 points. So that Leclerc has a 12-point gap on Sainz right now. In third place, Max Verstappen, the Red Bull driver, with 25 points, did not even finish the first race. So he did finish P1 last week, so that's why he's got the 25 points. George Russell is in fourth place. For Mercedes, he has 22 points. Fifth place, Lewis Hamilton driving for Mercedes with 16 points. Sixth place, Esteban Ocon with Alpine with 14 points. Seventh place, Sergio Perez with Red Bull Racing with 12 points. Eighth place, Kevin Magnussen racing with Haas with 12 points. Ninth place, Valtteri Bottas in the Alfa Romeo with 8 points. 10th place, Lando Norris in McLaren has 6 points. Number 11, Yuki Tsunoda in AlphaTauri with 4 points. Number 12, Pierre Gasly in AlphaTauri with 4 points. Number 13, Fernando Alonso with Alpine has 2 points. Number 14, Zhou Guanyu for Alfa Romeo has 1 point. And that does it for everyone with points. Left in the field without points this season are Mick Schumacher, Lance Stroll, Nico Hulkenberg, Alexander Albon, Daniel Ricciardo, and Nicholas Latifi. Daniel Ricciardo is from Australia, so he's returning home this week, so let's see if he can pull something out in that car. Now let's talk about the team standings, or the constructor standings. In first place, we have Ferrari with 78 points. In second place, we have Mercedes with 38 points. Pretty big gap already there. In third place, we have Red Bull with 37 points, just one less than Mercedes. In fourth place, Alpine with 16 points. Fifth place, Haas with 12 points. Sixth place, Alfa Romeo with 9 points. Seventh place, AlphaTauri with 8 points. Eighth place, McLaren with 6 points. And the two teams that don't have points this season, 9th and 10th place, are Aston Martin and Williams, both with Mercedes engines. Ouch. All right, now let's do a little season recap. It's obvious if you've been watching the races that Red Bull and Ferrari are dominant. They're duking it out for first place and second place right now. Red Bull had some engine problems or battery problems in the first race. I think we've learned some pretty interesting things about the DRS zones, which probably would have put Verstappen ahead of Leclerc in Bahrain had he used the strategy he used this week by not overtaking Leclerc in that last DRS zone so that he could have it in the main straight when he was going into the next DRS zone and take the lead. I think he could have done that in Bahrain. In other updates, George Russell, who just joined Mercedes, is 4th in championship points right now, ahead of his teammate, 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton, who's currently in 5th place. Mercedes is in a development battle right now, trying to make sure that their car can perform as this season continues on. And just keep this in mind. There is a shit ton of races left, so don't count them out just yet. They're sitting back there right behind Ferrari currently, but Red Bull's only 1 point behind them in the Constructors, so don't count them out yet. Again, a shit ton of races left. In other recap news, let's keep an eye on the rookie driver Zhou Guanyu, who finished in the points in Bahrain, which was his debut F1 race. What an amazing guy. In the last race, he finished 11th, just out of the points. And on the start, he was having engine stall issues, so he fell all the way back to last place. And to end up 11th in the final standings, keep an eye on this guy. He's amazing. Next note I had was
Esteban Ocon with Alpine in 6th place in championship points. That Alpine engine is running very well. It's very competitive in that midfield there. So keep an eye on Alpine to continue with their development battle too. See how far that they can take it up. Maybe finish a 3rd or 4th. Kevin Magnussen, the late fill-in driver for Nikita Mazepin, is currently 8th in championship points driving in the Haas. What an amazing story. He was complaining about his neck because like I say, he was a late fill-in, so he's not in shape for driving these F1 cars. So his neck has been killing him, and it's hard for him to keep the helmet up, is what he was saying before the last race in Saudi Arabia. But man, he's driving the hell out of that Haas with that Ferrari engine. They made a great decision this year, so keep an eye on Kevin Magnussen. On the same note, moving on, Haas and Alfa Romeo are both in the top 6 for the Constructors' Championship, which is amazing to see these teams making such great strides, especially with the new car regulations. But guess what? There's a shit ton more races left. Final thing we'll talk about today are the 4 drivers and the new rivalry between Red Bull and Ferrari. I do think, just my initial thoughts, that Red Bull does have the experience and an aggressive advantage over Ferrari, but Ferrari continues to amaze. So we'll start with Leclerc, who is currently 1st place in the points right now for drivers. He's been a pro since 2018. He started with Sauber, don't know how to say that, which it's a team affiliated with Ferrari. So he's just red blood born through and through here. He's 24 years old, from Monte Carlo, Monaco. So the home track, his home track is Monaco. Could you imagine all the yachts, just how he grew up? Different strokes, right? He became the 2nd youngest driver to qualify on pole position in Formula One at the 2019 Bahrain Grand Prix. He was the youngest driver to win the pole trophy in 2019. Let's see. He joined the Ferrari Driver Academy in 2016 before he went pro and was acting as a development driver for Haas and Ferrari. And then, like I said, in 2018, he joined Sauber and he replaced at Sauber Pascal Wehrlein. I'm hoping that's how you pronounce that. And he joined Marcus Ericsson as his teammate. And in 2019, he was promoted to Ferrari, where he replaced 2007 world champion Kimi Räikkönen and has raced there ever since. Because he is leading the world championship currently, he is the first ever Monegasque driver, which means from Monaco, Monegasque driver to lead the championship. Ferrari finished P1 and P2 in Bahrain, and they finished P2 and P3 in Saudi Arabia this year. He has also captured the fastest lap at both Grand Prix this year. So Leclerc does probably have the better setup of the Ferraris, or he's just more comfortable with it, but he's getting every bit of speed he can out of that. Let's talk about his teammate, Carlos Sainz, who became pro in 2015, started his career with Toro Rosso. Currently, he is 27 years old from Spain. He has 142 starts. Leclerc, I believe, only has around 80 starts himself. Sainz has 142 starts, 8 podiums. He was a test driver for Red Bull and Toro Rosso in the Test at Silverstone Young Drivers event. He began with Toro Rosso from 2015 to 2017. Then he moved to Renault from 2017 to 2018. Then to McLaren from 2019 to 2020. And now he started driving for Ferrari in 2021. His dad, you may know, is Carlos Sainz Sr., and his nickname is El Matador, and he's won the World Rally Championship Drivers title in Toyota in 1990 and 1992. So this guy, I mean, his dad's a driver too, so racing is just in this family's blood, you know. His dad, Carlos Sainz Sr., received the Princess of Asturias Sports Award in 2020. He once held the record for most career starts in the WRC, World Rally Championship. He's the first Nordic driver to win the 1000 Lakes Rally in Finland. He won the Dakar Rally in 2018, 2010, and 2020. He won the race champions in 1997 and the Asia Pacific Rally Championship in 1990. He now still races. He races in Extreme E at 60 years old. So he's kind of a badass when it comes to rally racing. Racing's just in those guys' blood. All right, moving on. Next we have Sergio Perez, whose nickname is Checo. He went pro in 2011, started racing with Sauber. He is now 32 years old, from Mexico. He has 215 starts, so well over double what Leclerc has. He holds the record for the number of starts before a race win at 190 races before he had his first race win. And that was at the 2020 Scuderia-Red Grand Prix. He also holds the record for the number of races before a first pole position start, which was 215 races, because last week in Saudi Arabia was the first time he ever had a pole position. So we just witnessed some history there, and he got the record for that. He raced with Ferrari Driving Academy. So when he went pro in 2011, he raced for Sauber from 2011 to 2012. Then he moved to McLaren in 2013. Then in 2014, he moved to Force India, stayed there from 2014 to 2018. And then he went with Racing Point in 2019 to 2020 and joined Red Bull in 2021. At the 2020 Scuderia Grand Prix, Perez got hit by Leclerc and went from P2 all the way back to P18 and ended up winning the race after he overtook Esteban Ocon on lap 64. This was the first win for a Mexican driver since Pedro Rodriguez won the 1970 Belgian Grand Prix 50 years prior. And lastly, our world champion from last year, Max Verstappen, who went pro in 2015. He started with Toro Rosso in 2015. Today, he is currently 24 years old. He's from the Netherlands. He has 143 starts, very similar to Carlos Sainz, almost double what Leclerc has. Verstappen was the 2021 world champion. He's the youngest driver to start a world championship race, and that was at the 2015 Australian Grand Prix when he was 17 years and 166 days old, which broke Jamie Alguersuari's record by almost 2 years. Wow. 2 years younger, he broke that record. He began racing with the Red Bull Junior team, but at one point considered joining the Mercedes development program. He started his career at Toro Rosso, where his teammate was Carlos Sainz. On his first race as a full-time driver with Red Bull, he replaced driver Daniel Kvyat. I butchered that name, at the 2016 Spanish Grand Prix, which he went on to win after qualifying fourth on a 2-stop strategy rather than a 3-stop strategy like his teammate Daniel Ricciardo. Verstappen's dad is Jos Verstappen, a former F1 driver who, after leaving F1, won the A1 Grand Prix, Le Mans Series, and 24 Hours at Le Mans in the LMP2 class in 2008. So again, we've got another driver with racing blood flowing through those veins. And that about does it today. So we talked about the new race in Vegas. We recapped the season. We looked at who's in first place, who's in last place in points. We looked at people who didn't have points. We looked at the teams, how they were doing in the Constructors series. We did a deep dive on 4 of the top drivers who are racing for Ferrari and Red Bull, in Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz, Max Verstappen, and Sergio Perez. So next week, I'm very excited excited because racing is back and the drivers will be in the Australian Grand Prix. Ricciardo's been in the news. He apparently is selling some sort of a boot that you can pour champagne and wine in. Oh, it's a decanter. That's right. I remember it's a decanter that you can pour your wine in because, as you know, when Ricciardo wins, gets a first place P1 finish, he takes the boot off that he was racing in, pours champagne in it, and drinks it. He actually got the CEO, Zach, of McLaren to drink out of the boot too after they got a first place win. So, Ricciardo released a new decanter in the shape of his racing boot this week, and he's just been in the news all week because the Australian Grand Prix is coming up. So can't wait to see what happens, and I hope you'll tune in next week. And that about does it for today's F1 Racing podcast. I'd like to thank you, the listeners, for downloading this podcast, and my sponsors, or should I say shamelessly, beg anyone with the courage to sponsor this amazingly informative and entertaining podcast in the future. And to everyone listening to this, yes, that means you. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, share with all your friends and enemies, follow me on Facebook and Twitter at F1 Racing Podcast, and give me a shining review on your preferred podcast platform so I can be the pole sitter of F1 Racing Podcasts. Till next time, be good or be good at being bad, whichever you do better.
You've been listening to the F1 Racing Podcast. Tune in next time to see what Billy will say next. The website is buymeacoffee.com/F1 Racing Podcast.
Keep up the good work.